Just at the moment the young man reached out, an interface appeared before his eyes, accompanied by an announcement: conditions met. System connection successful. Unbelievable. The cheating system has been activated successfully. Moments ago, the young man had been stabbed and had his internal energy siphoned away. In the next instant, the young man abruptly opened his eyes, discovering he was seated in a high school classroom. His name was Fuang Bin. Having watched numerous time travel films, Fuang Bin quickly accepted the reality of his transmigration. But unlike his previous life, this world introduced a new profession known as martial artist. Fuang Bin rushed to the internet cafe to search for information about martial artists. After his research, Fuang Bin was utterly astonished. In this world, no matter what grand ambition you harbor, it is predicated on one condition: being a martial artist. Martial artists are categorized into 9 ranks. Dancers not only hold a very high social status, but they also wield power. And only dancers can establish companies. It is only dancers who can become governors. And to open a multinational corporation, one must reach the 7th level of dancer. Thus, the examination to become a dancer has become the only path for many to alter their destinies. Fuang Bin was determined to pass the dancer examination. However, the path to becoming a dancer was far from simple. The mere registration fee of 10,000 dong made many hesitate. Fuang Bin suddenly wondered if he might have been born into a wealthy family after his transmigration. Yet, upon returning home, he realized he was still just a child of poverty. Fuang Bin had a lively younger sister named Fuang Vien. Their mother, Li Nok An, devoted herself to caring for Fuang Bin, so the siblings only attended half-day classes. Their monthly income was merely 800 dong. Their father, Fuang Min Vin, was just an ordinary worker at a ceramics factory, earning a meager 3,000 dong a month. Faced with the family's dire circumstances at the bottom of society, Fuang Bin found it incredibly hard to speak up. After much contemplation, yearning to change his fate, he finally resolved to voice his desires. When the family heard Fuang Bin wanted to participate in the dancer examination, they were all taken aback. Yet, without hesitation, his father pulled out a bank card, which held the 10,000 dong he had prepared. Confronted with his son's dream, the father chose to show his support. Fuang Bin gazed at the bank card in his hand, filled with surprise and emotion. Determined to become a dancer, so his family could live a better life. The next day, Fuang Bin went to the bank to withdraw the money. The moment he touched the cash, an interface appeared before him. An announcement echoed, confirming the conditions were met, and the system connection was successful. This was the standard equipment of the auxiliary system. It was truly unbelievable, a joy so profound that the wealthy could scarcely imagine it. At this moment, Fuang Bin was delving into the intricacies of his system. After withdrawing 10,000 dong from the bank, his asset value had transformed into 10,000. Fuang Bin made this remarkable discovery. Wealth that does not belong to oneself, even if touched, leaves no trace. A value too diminutive will also remain unrecorded. Currently, what troubles Fuang Bin is how to enhance his energy and spirit. He begins to experiment with various methods, from yoga to kneeling in prayer, or transforming into Ultraman. Yet, no matter what he does, results elude him. Frustrated, Fuang Bin declares, "If you don't increase your energy, I'll give you a lunchbox." As soon as he finishes speaking, the value of his assets rapidly escalates. Fuang Bin feels his entire being gradually radiating a vibrant red energy. Suddenly, a ting sound is heard. The asset value drops to 0. While his energy rises to 1.1, Fuang Bin instantly senses the transformation within his body. As his energy increases, his heartbeat begins to quicken, as if 2 veins have been liberated. He feels an unprecedented comfort, but suddenly realizes something amiss. Quickly glancing at the table where 10,000 dong still rests, he exhales in relief. It turns out that consuming the asset value does not affect the actual money. The next day, Fuang Bin arrives at school to register for 5 subjects. His classmates are astonished, asking him how much energy he possesses. Fuang Bin is unsure if his 1.1 is considered high. Therefore, he hesitates to respond. At this moment, a classmate beside him boasts of having 108 points. Fuang Bin is taken aback, wondering how he only has 1.1. The disparity is immense. Go Kai Hao, upon witnessing this, invites him over to test after school. His family has just acquired a blood energy measurement device worth hundreds of millions. Fuang Bin stares at the screen in awe, marveling at the unimaginable happiness of the wealthy. After class, Fuang Bin heads to Go Kai Hao's home. He sits on the measurement device while Go Kai Hao stares incredulously at the screen. After a moment, Go Kai Hao exclaims in disbelief. Fuang Bin's energy reached 113 points. With just 10.000 dong, he has become the second best in class overnight. Fuang Bin, named Fuang Bin, had inadvertently activated the system while withdrawing money yesterday and converted 10.000 asset value into 0.1 energy. It turns out that the system's statistics do not align with reality. The 1.1 energy on the system corresponds to 113 points in the real world. The system simply omits the third digit after the decimal. Upon returning home, Fuang Bin is filled with joy, boasting before his younger sister. With 113 points of energy, the second position in class is within his grasp. Gaining admission to the dance academy now seems assured. Hearing this, his parents are overjoyed. They understand that gaining admission to the dance academy requires not only physical training but also nourishing supplements. So they reluctantly part with 20.000 dong that they had painstakingly saved. His mother calls Fuang Bin into the room. With a gentle expression, the father handed his son 20.000 dong. Fuang Bin felt both touched and surprised. At that moment, the value of the system transformed from 0 to 20.000. Fuang Bin understood well that this 20.000 dong was not easily obtained. So it must be used with great care. If spent on medicine, its effectiveness was uncertain. Instead, the system before him seemed far more reliable. Thus, Fuang Bin spent 10.000 of his asset value to enhance his spirit by 0.1. This reaction was different from the surge of energy. It felt as gentle as a girl softly stroking her hair, leaving him feeling alert, focused, and enlightened. His memory also improved significantly. Fuang Bin eagerly worked on his assignments through the night, arriving at school the next morning without a trace of drowsiness. But immediately, Tun Keen dealt him a blow. For the news of Fuang Bin's 113 points in vitality had been spread throughout the school by Go Kai Hao. The boisterous gossip. While his classmates buzzed with excitement, the homeroom teacher sent a pile of theoretical materials to Fuang Bin, tasking him with participating in the 5-subject examination. This was an important mission, indicating that he had to persuade the principal many times to secure this opportunity. They would welcome Kim Duong, a renowned figure in the poetry circle of Namjiang School. What a precious opportunity to learn. Such a handsome senior was adored by many. A group of seniors came to welcome him, known as Kim Duong. The reason behind his popularity. There was an even more significant reason. He had become a dancer. Yet, Fuang Bin did not know who Kim Duong was. His ignorance frustrated everyone. A steadfast female fan stepped forward to explain clearly to him. In truth, Kim Duong's family was not wealthy, but he had never given up on his studies. Always persevering in his studies, he ultimately achieved outstanding results across all subjects, gaining admission to Namjiang School. Simultaneously, he was the first in his ordinary class to pass the entrance exam for Wu University. Once at Wu University, Kim Duong was far from lazy. He consistently maintained physical training and became a dancer in his first year. Now returning to his alma mater, Kim Duong would hold a presentation. Banners were hung both inside and outside the vehicle, making Kim Duong feel quite bashful as they moved. Kim Duong also shared some tips about the 5-subject exam with the younger students. This examination was divided into 5 major parts, with the most challenging being the health and practical assessments. To pass this 5-subject exam, vitality needed to be around 110 points. But if emotions could be stimulated, the results would be vastly different. Human emotions could ignite one's vitality, especially anger. Fuang Bin was astonished upon hearing this. How could the word, kill, be uttered so lightly by Kim Duong? Fuang Bin returned home deep in thought, feeling there was only one reason. He had once taken a life in reality. But at this moment, he had no time for such musings. For according to the words of the Earth King, your blood energy at 113 points is unstable. Therefore, Fuang Bin has spent 10.000 in asset value, only to increase his blood energy by 0.1. However, this reaction is entirely different from the last time. Fuang Bin feels as if his heart is about to explode, his entire body covered in veins. The pain is excruciating, even breathing has become a struggle. Could it be due to an overdose? Improving one's attributes should not be rushed, otherwise, one might encounter unexpected situations. At this moment, Fuang Bin has collapsed onto the bed, unable to bear the agony. He is baffled. The last time he increased his blood energy, he felt unprecedented comfort, yet this time he nearly lost his life. Fortunately, The worst has passed. He hurriedly dons his uniform and rushes to the hotel to pick up Kim Dwang for school. In his haste, he accidentally bumps into a new tenant from upstairs. But this person is quite peculiar, wearing a hat and a mask, holding a small knife in hand. Despite this, Fuang Bin thinks little of it and quickly boards the bus to meet his senior. Upon entering, Kim Dwang approaches Fuang Bin, pats his shoulder, and says, "To become a dancing artist, the body is fundamental." Although he does not know what kind of tonic Fuang Bin has consumed for his blood energy to surge so rapidly. One must not use powerful medicines casually. A single misstep could lead to disaster. Moreover, only consuming tonics without physical training will ultimately lead to the fate of a glutton devouring a snake. Fuang Bin shyly expresses his gratitude. That night, back home, he heeds Kim Dwang's advice and begins to train diligently. Unexpectedly, his blood energy increases, and with such intensity in training, he does not feel fatigued. At that moment, a surge of murderous intent suddenly emanates from behind. Turning his head, he sees the new tenant he encountered earlier in the day. Fuang Bin anxiously retreats into the house. By chance, he catches a news article about a peak-level secondary dancer who, after committing robbery, eliminated his accomplices and fled to his city. Seeing the image in the article, he feels a sense of familiarity. Fuang Bin suddenly realizes, isn't that the knife of the man from upstairs? This boy possesses a certain ruthlessness. There lives a murderer above. Fuang Bin falls into deep contemplation, finding this all too familiar. When he lays down to sleep at night, he suddenly awakens. Isn't that the knife of the man from upstairs? This boy has a touch of cruelty. Above him dwells a murderer. He not only does not flee, but actively approaches the house of the other, casually arriving at the murderer's home to watch football. He has even prepared 2 cups of soy milk. Holding the cup in hand, his mood is filled with rage. Yet he can only gaze at Fuang Bin. In front of him, boasting incessantly, he must also greet with a smile. Do not be misled by his youth. He could very well be an agent sent by the inspection bureau. It is best to keep things discreet. Unbeknownst to him, the match has already ended. Fuang Bin draws the curtains, prepared to help Bok Do-sieh tidy up. Yet, in an instant, Bok Do-sieh pulled him back. The room of a murderer. How could it be carelessly exposed? However, Bok Do-sieh could only pretend to be allergic to ultraviolet rays. If the living room couldn't be cleaned, then he would have to clean the bedroom. But once again, Bok Do-sieh stopped Fuang Bin. A man's bedroom is not appropriate for anyone, everyone understands that. Seeing no other way, Fuang Bin finally prepared to sneak away, and Bok Do-sieh finally breathed a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, Fuang Bin tripped over a box on the ground. Tumbling down, Bok Do-sieh immediately panicked. Not because Fuang Bin fell, but because the weapon inside the box was exposed. He rushed over, kicked Fuang Bin away, then drew his knife, intending to silence him. Just as he was about to strike, Bok Do-sieh suddenly felt dizzy. It turned out that Fuang Bin had slipped a potent drug into the soybeans. Seizing the opportunity, Fuang Bin grabbed a wooden stick and struck Bok Do-sieh hard on the head, causing him to collapse instantly. Truly worthy of being a second-tier elite, Bok Do-sieh landed an uppercut to Fuang Bin's stomach. He quickly pushed back, having just crossed over. How could he possibly die here? Therefore, he unleashed his technique, relentlessly swinging the wooden stick, and Bok Do-sieh could not withstand it. Falling to the ground unconscious, Fuang Bin immediately went to inspect the filthy things. Unexpectedly, the harvest was quite substantial. This young man had single-handedly defeated a second-tier murderer. But it wasn't due to sheer strength. It was thanks to the hidden drugging. Bok Do-sieh was furious, cursing Fuang Bin. Who would have thought that Fuang Bin was not a docile child? He had been drawn to those filthy things. Realizing there was an opportunity, Bok Do-sieh immediately proposed a deal with Fuang Bin. As long as he released him, cash and elixirs would belong to Fuang Bin. The cash combined with the market value of the elixirs reached 5,240,000. Fuang Bin was astonished. A few vials of elixir were worth millions. Was the money of the martial artists falling from the sky? Bok Do-sieh convinced Fuang Bin that this transaction was nothing but profit. For in his pocket lay precious pills, such as Guion pill and Phuk Hoi pill. All rare commodities. The flesh of a martial artist is still that of an ordinary person. If not trained into resilient bones, they cannot support fragile organs. Once the blood qi exceeds the threshold, death could strike at any moment. So instead of handing him over to the police, returning empty-handed, it was better to let him go and receive valuable items in return. If one wished to kill him to seize control, there was no need to think further. Because Bok Do-sieh had contacted his underlings. If he didn't reach out for a long time, they would surely come to find Fuang Bin for revenge. Wouldn't that be inviting disaster upon himself? Fuang Bin fell into contemplation. He was reluctant to miss out on such a treasure trove. But he also understood clearly that Bok Do-sieh could not be allowed to escape. If not, he would face dire consequences immediately. At this moment, he devised a feasible plan to seek help from Vong Kim Duong. For resources are invaluable to martial artists. Vong Kim Duong's thoughts would surely mirror his own. But what if Vong Kim Duong desired to monopolize it? Yet, Fuang Bin found himself with no retreat. The longer he delayed, the less effective the medicine would become. And Bok Do-sieh would undoubtedly kill him. It would be better to gamble with Vong Kim Duong. At least there remained a chance to escape. A plan was imperative. Fuang Bin struck Bok Do-sieh with a calculated blow. This young man, upon seeing the system notification displaying asset value of 2,400,000, felt a surge of elation. Passing the martial artist examination this time was astonishingly easy. The man was named Vong Kim Duong. He was the top scorer of the year in the exams held in Duong City, by his first year. He had already become a martial artist. He had received a mission to capture the murderer, Bok Do-sieh. At this moment, he was operating under the cover of night. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Fuang Bin calling. Upon answering, Fuang Bin declared that he had captured Bok Do-sieh. Vong Kim Duong was half convinced, half skeptical. Encountering Bok Do-sieh required even his utmost caution. Not to mention Fuang Bin, who had yet to become a martial artist. Despite these thoughts, Vong Kim Duong quickly rushed over. Unexpectedly, the situation proved to be true. This student was remarkably strong, able to capture a murderer all on his own. Fuang Bin didn't beat around the bush. He directly expressed his intentions to seize the filthy spoils. Vong Kim Duong had initially intended to test the waters, but Fuang Bin pulled him into the gang and entrusted him with the rights to share the loot. Vong Kim Duong was taken aback. This student was indeed clever. And without hesitation, he immediately uploaded the crunchy pill and the level 2 recovery pill into the potion flask. For now, they were unnecessary. He exchanged them for a level 1 pill and an additional 1 million in cash. Later, Vong Kim Duong discovered a red pill on Bok Do-sieh, which held significant value and was precisely what he needed to break through his limits. He took it without delay. The remainder belongs entirely to Fuang Bin, and the matters concerning Bok Do-sieh will be handled by him alone. Fuang Bin need not worry. Once the division was complete, the value of the system's assets surged to over 2,400,000. Yet, compared to the market price of 3 million, the gap was quite significant. This system truly favors no one. Yet, in light of this situation, Fuang Bin was quite satisfied. Suddenly, he recalled the matter of supplying the streets. Looking back, he saw Vong Kim Duong with a cold gaze, declaring that the criminal had been captured. Dead on the spot. Can you believe it? This high school student is a millionaire. At this moment, he was preparing to purchase his very first luxurious villa. This young lad is named Fuang Bin. Just recently, the 1 million yuan transferred by Vong Kim Duong had entered his account, raising his total asset value to over 3.4 million. The previous system interface shattered, revealing a completely new, more modern, and sophisticated interface before his eyes. However, as he regained his senses, he realized his older brother had already fled. He was completely lost in his own joy. Fuang Bin walked down the street, opening a parcel to find that Wang Jinyang had sent him 3 cultivation books. Previously, he had researched that to become a martial artist, 2 conditions must be met. First, one's energy and blood must be at least 150. Second, the bones must be sturdy. Strengthening the bones requires not only herbal medicine but also professional training techniques. He was worried about not finding a suitable technique. To his surprise, the items had already arrived. Yet now, with the intensity of his training increasing, the small courtyard downstairs was no longer sufficient. He needed to find a place that was both spacious and tranquil. Thus, Fuang Bin went to view some houses. Indeed, issues that can be solved with money are no issues at all. Fuang Bin pulled out his bank card. Was there a discount for full payment? There certainly had to be. Not only was there a 5% discount, but also exemptions from transfer and repair taxes. He immediately placed a deposit, and could even waive part of the rent. This house was already fully furnished. He could move in right away. All subsequent procedures would be taken care of, leaving no cause for concern. While the training location had been settled, Communicating with family posed its own challenges. Thus, Fuang Bin decided to refrain from mentioning it and instead headed to the pedestrian street to shop for supplies. The bank card, once drawn, has stolen away the very things that others gaze upon. Indeed, spending money brings such joy. A joy that seems to cascade endlessly. With the venue and facilities arranged, Fuang Bin immediately commenced his physical training. The structure of the body comprises bones, flesh, blood, meridians, and internal organs. A martial artist must harmonize every aspect. Therefore, the integration of cultivation techniques and martial arts will yield the best results. Wang Jinyang held great expectations for Fuang Bin, personally calling to offer guidance. Fuang Bin was at the first level of cultivation. Primarily, the average rule focuses on the lower parts. Fuang Bin heard this and understood the need to emphasize the lower parts. Yet Wang Jinyang cautioned that overemphasis on the lower parts could be perilous. Once injured, it's easy to become impaired. There was even a possibility of not being able to walk normally. Yet Fuang Bin did not dwell on such thoughts. He merely considered that if he couldn't fight back, he must surely run swiftly. This understanding was indeed profound. At this moment, Wang Jinyang reminded him of the importance of balancing cultivation techniques and martial arts. Although it could elevate the limits of one's energy and blood, in reality, that very energy would diminish. To prepare for this exam, one must exercise moderation in their training. As the call ended, Fuang Bin could hardly wait to begin his cultivation. Truly, just as Wang Jinyang had stated, his energy and spirit had waned. But with money, one can act as they please. He took out his money and tossed it again. As long as his body could withstand it, his training progress would be fine. Only those who possessed a system could achieve this. Those who have hacked truly stand apart. By utilizing the system to restore his vital energy and spirit, he could truly push his limits to new heights. Fuang Bin, the one who discovered this system flaw, was filled with uncontainable joy. If that were the case, wouldn't the martial arts examination be a piece of cake? After a month of frenzied training, he had finally arrived at the decisive martial arts test that would determine his fate. Fuang Bin entered the examination room with confidence. The first test was a health assessment, held at the Shuiyang Health Examination Center. As Fuang Bin chatted with his classmates, a middle-aged man suddenly called him over. It turned out to be Tan Zhenbing, the deputy director of education in Yangcheng. Such a prominent figure. Why was he seeking him out? He beckoned Fuang Bin aside. Brimming with enthusiasm, Fuang Bin immediately inquired about the matter at hand. Tan Zhenbing wasted no time, stating that the number of qualifiers in this examination was a crucial target for the Education Bureau. This year's situation was not looking promising. Previously, Wang Jinyang had mentioned him. If he was someone Wang Jinyang had spoken of, he was undoubtedly no ordinary opponent. Tan Zhenbing hoped that Fuang Bin would unleash his vital energy before the test, creating pressure on the competitors from other schools and shattering their confidence. This would impact their performance in the upcoming test. Truly, a cunning fox, wanting to use Fuang Bin to suppress the other schools. Naturally, Fuang Bin was unwilling. If he unleashed his vital energy before the test, it would affect his performance in the subsequent physical examination. Tan Zhenbing seemed to have anticipated this. Fuang Bin would not easily agree, stating that he would later be compensated with a vital energy pill. That was something worth tens of millions. As soon as there was a benefit involved, Fuang Bin quickly consented. At that moment, a competitor from Yangcheng School had a conflict with a student from another school. Just as Fuang Bin struggled to find an opportunity, he stepped forward, unleashing his vital energy. Competitors from other schools immediately knelt in awe. Tan Zhenbing stood beside him, astonished. His vital energy had nearly reached the level of a martial artist. Oh heavens! After 10 years, a potential martial artist had finally emerged in Yangcheng. Just moments ago, Fuang Bin had entered the health examination center. The competitors were buzzing with chatter, wondering who had unleashed such powerful vital energy. It was truly terrifying. While Fuang Bin basked in his own pride, he was suddenly pulled into a small, dark room. It was Tan Zhenbing from earlier. His skills were impressive. Tan Zhenbing produced a vital energy pill, insisting that Fuang Bin consume it, claiming it would help him become a potential martial artist. Fuang Bin immediately refused. The effects of the vital energy pill were far too potent. If a martial artist consumed it, it would not only affect their foundation but could even lead to death. Seeing Fuang Bin's refusal, he then mentioned Director Jin of the Shuiyang Education Department. That was the requirement of a third-level martial artist. This cunning fox resorted to coercion. Apologies, but no. I am also a third-level warrior. Tan Zhenbing was taken aback. It seemed the pressure was too much for him, forcing him to resort to a more flexible approach. He claimed he was being coerced. As long as Fuang Bin agreed, any conditions would be easy to negotiate. It seemed there was a chance to profit. Fuang Bin spoke up, offering 2 blood essence pills plus 2 million in cash. No problem, I agreed on behalf of Director Kim. Before leaving, Fuang Bin informed Tan Zhenbing that he could take 3 blood essence pills, leaving 1 for himself. Tan Zhenbing was utterly astonished. He still thought of benefiting himself. Could this young man truly be a high school student? Wang Jinyang had chosen a not-so-simple person. In the testing room, thousands of testing cabinets stood lined up. Many candidates had completed their tests, yet no one had emerged. Finally, it was Fuang Bin's turn. Kim Khe Men immediately requested others to broadcast his surveillance video. In truth, Fuang Bin did not need to consume the blood pill, but he still pretended, pulling out an ordinary blood essence pill and swallowing it. The essence surged into his body. The power of the blood essence rapidly flooded throughout him. Fuang Bin threw his head back and let out a roar, the intense force exploding forth. The testing value quickly skyrocketed. With a beep, it unexpectedly reached the maximum level for a potential warrior at 149 points. Fuang Bin, with a triumphant expression, had passed the examination. Little did he know that the world of warriors was fraught with peril. Just after completing the test, all candidates gathered in the conference room, awaiting the judges to announce the results. This year, the passing standard had been raised to 115 points. Many candidates below cried out in despair, while Fuang Bin remained calm. The judges announced the list of candidates who met the passing score. With 149 points, Fuang Bin stood at the top in Shuyuan City. Upon learning the results, Fuang Bin was overjoyed and invited his friends to go shopping. However, on his way back, he encountered a man with strange symbols etched across his face. The man immediately started mocking the warriors. It turned out he was a fanatic opposed to warriors. People paid him no mind, quickly steering clear and leaving. The next day, Fuang Bin participated in further practical and specialized tests. After the tests concluded, the students relaxed. Little did they know that besides their parents, a disaster was about to descend upon them. Outside the school gate, a group of men wielding iron rods suddenly pushed open the car doors, charging fiercely towards the students just exiting the school. A loud bang echoed. A candidate collapsed to the ground. A pack of men, like wolves on the hunt, began to beat him mercilessly. Students scattered in panic. At that moment, Fuang Bin remained oblivious to the chaos unfolding. And just as he began to wonder, a woman suddenly appeared behind him. A punch swung out, and Fuang Bin instinctively raised both hands to shield his face. What a forceful display. This was the mark of a martial artist who had honed his arm's strength. Noticing the strange symbols etched upon the woman's face, he realized she was an accomplice of the fanatic from the previous day. Fuang Bin leaned aside, delivering a swift kick. The woman blocked the strike with one hand, wincing in pain. This was self-inflicted harm that dealt no blow to her opponent. Moreover, without giving Fuang Bin a moment to react, she suddenly grabbed his collar and slammed him violently to the ground. Blood spurted from Fuang Bin's mouth. The woman raised her hand, preparing to deliver a fatal blow to Fuang Bin. Fear gripped him as he executed a kick to her ankle, causing her to lose balance, and her punch went awry. That strike cracked the ground beneath. A sinister smile appeared on the woman's face. Another punch was launched. Was this where he would meet his end? In that moment of desperation, the woman suddenly soared like a bullet, crashing violently against the railing nearby. Blood streamed down from the man's hand. He watched as the woman lay lifeless on the ground after the blow. Fuang Bin was left in stunned disbelief. This man was exceptionally strong. He had nearly been killed even before becoming a martial artist. Just in time, a man rushed in to save Fuang Bin. It turned out to be Deputy Director Tran from the Tweeduang Surveillance Bureau. Indeed, a formidable character. At that moment, Tan Chen Bin also arrived, hastily checking to see if Fuang Bin was injured. After confirming he was unharmed, he conversed with Director Tran about the incident. It was revealed that an organization calling itself the World of Creation was behind the chaos. Not long after, a young man from the Surveillance Bureau rushed over to report to Director Tran that all members of the World of Creation involved in this incident had been captured. But countless students had perished, and many might never enter the martial arts school. After this event, Fuang Bin finally recognized his own weakness. In this world where strength reigns supreme, only the powerful can endure. However, Tan Chin Din informed Fuang Bin that many martial artists today no longer practiced combat techniques, but merely tempered their bones and cultivated their vital energy, as it was hardly necessary. Even in the face of incidents like this one, the Surveillance Bureau would handle it. Many individuals, like him, became martial artists but chose office work instead. Fuang Bin felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. Was it true that most martial artists were merely parasites? Tan Chan Bin suggested taking Fuang Bin home, also to visit his parents. Upon reaching Fuang Bin's home, Tan Chan Bin mentioned that Fuang Bin's father could work as a security guard at the education department, earning a monthly salary of 5,000, along with benefits and a pension. This was indeed much better than working at the ceramics factory. With those words, Tan Jen Bin took his leave. Fuang Bin mentioned that the education department had even rewarded him with an apartment. Finally, he found a legitimate reason. The next day, Fuang Bin brought his parents and younger sister to the luxurious apartment he had purchased earlier. Has he already reaped such benefits before even becoming a warrior? At that moment, Vong Kim Duong suddenly called. Fuang Bin stated that his qi and blood had surpassed 150 points and he had completed his first round of bone forging. He wished to ask Vong Kim Duong to teach him the art of combat. But Vong Kim Duong replied that 150 points was merely the standard for ordinary people, and that he should not rush but rather take his time to surpass it. The higher the qi and blood, the more advantageous it would be for the future. And he still needed to undergo the second round of bone forging. Having unlocked his abilities and with a guide at his side, this young man truly holds limitless potential. Vong Kim Duong did not expect to take action against Fuang Bin. What on earth has happened? Just moments ago, Vong Kim Duong had called Fuang Bin, inquiring whether his speed of bone forging had been significantly reduced. Indeed, as his physique and qi and blood had now reached the limits of a flying warrior, the speed of his cultivation would naturally slow down. Vong Kim Duong suggested that Fuang Bin bathe in a health-enhancing solution, as this could promote the speed of bone forging, but it couldn't be purchased in Duong Tan. He exchanged a few bottles from the school and sent them to Fuang Bin. 3 bottles for 550,000. I manage it like this. Indeed, warriors rely on money to attain strength. One must cultivate swiftly. Without money, one cannot afford to waste time. With the support of the health-enhancing solution, after a month of diligent cultivation, Fuang Bin's qi and blood had risen to 170 points. The exam results were announced. Fuang Bin's family anxiously watched the computer screen. Fuang Bin scored 85 points in his major and 98 points in the practical test. Oh heavens! Such scores had both major martial arts schools vying for him. At this moment, Vong Kim Duong sent a message, stating that he had arrived in Duong Tan to meet Fuang Bin. Why was his older brother so proactive in arranging a meeting? Fuang Bin sought out Vong Kim Duong, only to be met with a punch as soon as they met. What does this mean? Not bad, it seems he has completed the second round of bone forging. Then let's have a little interaction. Before Fuang Bin could even refuse, Vong Kim Duong lunged forward and sent him flying. Just you? And you wish to learn the art of battle? With that, he leapt and delivered a powerful kick. Fuang Bin quickly retreated, barely managing to evade the strike. The reaction is indeed swift. No matter where it is, thanks must be given to Vong for his guidance. Vong Kim Duong charged at Fuang Bin, striking with fervor. Vong Kim Duong remarked that upon their first meeting, he found Fuang Bin to be quite ordinary. Yet he never imagined that within a mere 2 months, he would complete his second bone forging. This talent left Vong Kim Duong thoroughly astonished. Compliments made Fuang Bin feel bashful. Thus, Vong Kim Duong hoped for Fuang Bin to join the Namjiang Nu Dai. It turned out he had come to recruit someone. So, how would Fuang Bin choose? Just moments ago, Vong Kim Duong suggested that Fuang Bin join the Namjiang 5 Greats. He mentioned that he was the president of the Martial Arts Association of the Namjiang 5 Greats and could offer Fuang Bin all resources for free prior to his ascension to the 3rd rank. Resources before reaching the 3rd rank, such as essence of blood and blood essence pills, require millions. Indeed, it is a substantial amount. Yet, Vong Kim Duong did not press him, stating that with his innate talent, he could easily enter 2 prestigious martial arts academies. This was not the first time Fuang Bin had heard of these 2 renowned institutions. Were they truly as exceptional as claimed? Of course, Vong Kim Duong elucidated. Every year, the Hua Kingdom provides colossal resources to 2 martial arts academies. Graduates emerge as masters and celebrated figures, and they also provide significant financial support to their alma mater. Thus, They are able to offer essence pills and blood essence pills to students free of charge upon achieving breakthroughs to the first rank. Just the freshman class alone boasts thousands of students, with an annual expenditure of at least 800 million. Truly, a formidable financial backing. Another distinguishing aspect lies in the number of missions. After deducting school subsidies, all remaining resources must be earned independently. Missions are never in short supply, and the rewards are indeed generous. However, the most crucial factor remains the faculty, something that ordinary martial arts schools cannot compare to. At Namjiang, the minimum requirement for the top 5 teachers is the 3rd rank. Those who reach the 4th rank can become instructors, while 5th-ranked individuals can lead the school. Meanwhile, the 2 major martial arts academies have a minimum requirement of the 4th rank. Countless 5th and 6th-ranked instructors abound. From what is known, in Ma-Du, out of the 5 Grand Masters, 4 are present, 4 masters. This is truly terrifying. Vong Kim Duong advised Fuang Bin to ponder carefully before he departed. Fuang Bin felt utterly perplexed, uncertain about which school to choose. That day, upon receiving the admission notice, he decided to visit the school beforehand to acclimate to the environment. His family and Fuang Bin came to see him off. Amidst the reluctant embraces from his family, Fuang Bin finally boarded the train bound for the martial arts university. So, which school had Fuang Bin chosen? Holding the admission notice in his hands, Fuang Bin could hardly contain his excitement, immediately boarding the train to the school of his dreams, Dai Hok Nu Koa. As the train arrived at the station, Fuang Bin couldn't help but sigh. It truly lived up to its reputation as the commercial hub of the Hua Kingdom. In Ma-Du, the streets were filled with dancers, a stark contrast to the smaller cities like Guangtan. At that moment, a railway security officer approached, requesting Fuang Bin to present his identification. He retrieved his ID, and the officer scanned it, noting that his blood essence level was 199. But without registering as a martial artist, one cannot act freely. Fuang Bin was astonished. But I'm not a martial artist. The security guard looked at him with incredulity. Fuang Bin introduced himself as the new student of Ma-Vo. With such high vital energy at just the first year, truly impressive. Thus, the security guard led Fuang Bin to obtain a temporary martial arts certification. Martial artists are, in fact, living weapons, which is why Ma-Du must manage them strictly. Indeed, this is a big city. Under the guidance of the security guard, Fuang Bin succeeded in his endeavor. He now possessed a temporary martial arts certification. Outside the gates of Ma-Vo, Fuang Bin couldn't help but marvel. Is this really Ma-Vo? This gate is enormous. He looked as if he had never witnessed such a sight before. You are the new student of Ma-Vo, aren't you? A young man with blue hair approached wielding a long knife. He introduced himself as a 3rd-year student of the Ma-Vo Weapons Academy. Tan Fuang Tin. In an instant, Tan Fuang Tin, amidst Fuang Bin's astonishment, swung his blade toward him. Fuang Bin trembled. What is your name, young master? Not only a level 2 bone fragile but also quite skilled. Fuang Bin hadn't yet regained his composure and instinctively reported his name. This time, it seems Bone Fragile has indeed arrived at Ma-Vo. After saying this, Tan Fuang Tin walked into the academy. This guy was truly powerful. He could already recognize Fuang Bin as a level 2 Bone Fragile. Not a martial artist. Indeed, he had come to the right place. As Tan Fuang Tin walked through the academy, he suddenly scratched his head. That tone sounds familiar. I wonder where it came from. He pondered but couldn't recall. At that moment, he reached into his pocket and tightly grasped a few vials of bone fragile medicine he had just exchanged for. Perhaps this time I can complete my bone fragile training and finally become a martial artist, when the time comes. I must definitely go to Kick, the Martial Dao Society of the 5 Greats. It must be Wang Jin Yang. Fuang Bin, filled with anticipation, stepped into the academy, but such a grand gate surely concealed unimaginable wonders within. He followed the instructions in the new student guide to the new student reception area. Contrary to the magnificent gate, it was an old and worn building. Could it be that I've been deceived? Fuang Bin entered the hall, where a middle-aged woman was reading a book. He presented his acceptance notice and temporary martial arts certification to her. While the woman checked Fuang Bin's identity, she complained that he had arrived a month early, adding to her workload. Not only was the building old, but the service attitude was also far from pleasant. The woman glanced over Fuang Bin's martial arts certificate, and suddenly her expression changed. Bone Fragile Level 2 with a vital energy of 199. A peak martial artist. The woman abruptly stood up, immediately breaking into a radiant smile at Fuang Bin. I will immediately arrange for you to stay at the Manhwa Hotel. How quickly her attitude changed. She asked Fuang Bin if he planned to break through to the 5th rank. You can notify the school to arrange for an instructor to assist you now. The school hasn't opened yet, so there's no problem at all. At New Dai, strength is equivalent to treatment. Fuang Bin, as a peak-level second bone, would undoubtedly be regarded as a genius among new students. If he wanted to break through, the school would certainly arrange for an instructor to protect him. Indeed, strength determines treatment. At that moment, the hotel department manager of Manhwa, Li Thuatrak, rushed in, drenched in sweat. Sorry to keep you waiting. Li Thuatrak smiled brightly, quickly helping Fuang Bin with his luggage and leading him outside. A sense of grandeur enveloped him. Fuang Bin never expected to be welcomed in such luxury. Upon arriving at the Manhwa Hotel, Li Thuatrak led him to an opulent suite. It even had a private gym and an open kitchen. What is this? Everything is free? Li Thuatrak explained, because Fuang Bin is a second bone. Your accommodations will be better than others. Having said that, Li Thuatrak took his leave. Now he had truly entered the privileged class. It felt as if he was hacking the system, however. The money seemed to vanish too quickly. What now? At the restaurant of the Manhwa Hotel, Fuang Bin was anxious. Recently, although he had completed 3 rounds of bone training, he had spent a considerable fortune. With his rising strength, the future demands for resources would only grow. If things continued like this, it would not be sustainable. He needed a continuous source of income. There was only one way: start a company. Although the structure differed from the world before his transmigration, the overall development trends remained similar. The future would undoubtedly lean towards the internet, online shopping, and mobile payments. All of these aspects were indispensable in the future. However, they required a substantial amount of technology and capital. Implementing such ideas was exceedingly difficult. Currently, Fuang Bin only had 1.6 million in cash, far from enough to start an online shopping company. If so, he could only start a delivery business. The technical requirements were low, the startup was not difficult, and future profits looked promising. Yes, that was it, but Fuang Bin was still unfamiliar with Manhwa, and he needed to focus on his training. He needed to find someone knowledgeable to manage the company. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. It turned out to be 2 guests in the restaurant deliberately causing trouble, intentionally dropping their hair into the food and demanding compensation from the restaurant. Just as Fuang Bin stood up to teach them a lesson, Li Thuatrak appeared, and with just a few words, he sent the 2 fleeing in haste. Well done, Manager Li. Fuang Bin approached, and upon seeing him, Li Thuatrak immediately bowed at a 90-degree angle. Fuang Bin said, Manager Li, although you are not a performer, being able to manage at the Manhwa Hotel must mean you've worked here for quite a few years. Right? Not too long, not too short, exactly 8 years. Graduates from Manhwa hold higher positions than you. Have you considered becoming a dancer? Of course I want to. Just being able to become a dancer will triple or quadruple my current benefits. How long will it take? 4 years. 5 years, by then. You will be in your 30s. With your vitality waning, you might only reach the 1st rank. That's not too bad. Within 3 years, I can help you become a dancer without costing you a penny. So, what do you say, Manager Li? Do you want to follow me? I never expected old Wang to be so powerful. He single-handedly wiped out Manhwa and Kyoto, 2 prestigious universities. At that moment, with the cracking of bones echoing, Fuang Bin finally completed his 3rd session of the bone flex training, his vitality increasing by 6 points. His mental strength also rose by 10 hectares. The results were very promising. However, the costs were enormous. One training session had consumed nearly 2 million resources. Yet, it was still worth it. In the later stages, the speed of training 3 times would be much faster than 2 times. The important point is that he accomplished what Vong Kim Duong could not. Fuang Bin wiped the blood off his body with a cloth and smirked. Tomorrow is the opening ceremony. It's yet another chance to show off in front of the girls. The next day, the new students who registered all flocked to the Manhwa dormitory. The dormitory was divided into 4 areas based on admission scores. Area 1 was the best, Area 2 second, and so on. Fuang Bin stood amidst the admiring gazes of many new students. Entering Area 1 with a self-satisfied expression, he opened the dormitory door, revealing not a student dormitory, but rather a luxurious, exquisitely furnished apartment. Even though Fuang Bin had enjoyed a month's privilege at the Manhwa Hotel, he couldn't help but marvel. The financial power of Manhwa is truly terrifying. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Fuang Bin opened it. Hello, I am Fu Trong Din. The one from across, with looks like yours. You shouldn't be standing in front of me. I wonder if there's room for anyone else. Fuang Bin politely introduced himself. Fu Trong Din was a bit surprised. My friend, your voice sounds familiar. It turns out you are from Namjiang? Then you must know Vong Kim Duong, right? He was my senior in high school. So, do you know him too? Fu Trong Din immediately expressed his admiration. He is the standard of the new generation of dancers. Last year, he single-handedly swept through all of Ma Vo. An ordinary student, Fuang Bin was astonished. Just a few days ago, he caused a stir in your hometown of Kyoto. Fu Trong Din. He caused quite a ruckus. On his very first day in the capital, he single-handedly defeated 8 martial arts training halls. Fuang Bin, with an incredulous expression, said, those training halls all had mid-level martial artists guarding them. After saying this, Fu Trong Din left, leaving Fuang Bin in a state of exhilaration. His blood and power erupted instinctively. So, old Wang is this strong? It seems I need to push myself harder. As Fu Trong Din stepped out of the room, frowning, he heard about Vong Kim Duong, whose overwhelming blood power had been unleashed. Could it be a second-level bonebreaker? No way. Even stronger. Have you ever seen a school like this? You have to lean against the wall to choose your specialty. At that moment, all the freshmen of Ma Vo gathered in front of the experimental building. The noise echoed everywhere. The presiding teacher was drenched in sweat. No one is listening to me. At that moment, a man with golden hair stepped forward. You kids, stand in line right now. As his voice spread, an immense pressure of blood filled the entire school. Countless students couldn't withstand the pressure and dropped to their knees. Fuang Bin and his teammates trembled uncontrollably. Unexpectedly, it was Hoang Gun, the director of the Weapon Institute of Ma Vo. He was a true master. Hoang Gun announced that he was in charge of this freshman division. And the experimental building before them was the venue for today's division. The first floor represented the Literature Institute, where studies of politics and culture took place. The second floor represented the Crafting Institute, focused on alchemy, weaponry, and martial techniques. The third floor represented the Tactical Direction Institute, where military strategy and tactics were studied. The fourth floor represented the Weapon Institute, primarily concentrating on practical combat. After 5 minutes, everyone would enter the building and reach the floor of their desired academy. After 1 hour, the floors would be sealed. Whichever floor you remained on would determine your academy affiliation. Many freshmen began to murmur. Isn't that too simple? Can't we just be assigned directly? Why complicate things? A wicked smile appeared on Hoang Gun's face. However, each floor cannot exceed 400 people. If any floor exceeds this number, all students on that floor will have 30 credits deducted. Just a reminder, the basic credit score for freshmen is 50 points. 1 point equals 30.000 in cash. With 3 points, you can exchange for a common blood tonic at the school. The freshmen finally began to lose their composure. Was the first day of school this thrilling? Fuang Bin was also astonished. Indeed, the entrance exam of Ma Vo was far from simple. At that moment, Fu Zong Din suddenly called Fuang Bin. Want to collaborate on something? The official division for freshmen had begun. To attract the attention of the lecturers, Fuang Bin arrogantly declared, no need for complications. Everyone, let's go. Just moments ago, Li Thuotrak spoke to Fuang Bin. The Weapon Institute is the academy with the most abundant resources and the best faculty. Surely, many will aspire to ascend to the 4th floor. However, if you and I join forces, reaching the 4th floor is a guarantee. But that doesn't mean we will be guided by the best instructors. What do you mean? Fuang Bin furrowed his brow. Li Thuotrak explained, all the instructors from Ma Vu will monitor the allocation process for the new students. They will select the students they value. Therefore, we must stand out during the allocation to capture the attention of the instructors. Fuang Bin fell into deep thought. Vong Kim Duong had also mentioned the importance of choosing a good mentor. If we could catch the attention of all those mentors, wouldn't it be up to them to choose? We must collaborate at this moment. Hoang Gun spoke up. The principal of Ma Vu once said, a true martial artist must fight, must seize what is theirs. Now, let us begin to savor the first lesson of becoming a martial artist. The whole school fell into silence. Suddenly, all the new students rushed toward the building. A chaotic battle was about to erupt. In the observation hall, an instructor remarked, the physiques of this year's new students seem quite impressive. Don't they? Hoang Gun snorted coldly. You, who spend every day enjoying a peaceful life, what do you know about struggle? These are just a few fledgling souls with vigor. A reluctant instructor commented, everyone is like this. Is there any need to be so harsh? Hoang Gun's expression darkened as he sternly stated that the current underground vault was becoming increasingly perilous, with elite groups falling in battle at the front lines. With such a level of capability, the new students were fundamentally inadequate. The instructors dared not utter another word. Countless new students surged toward the fourth floor. Suddenly, a new student was kicked away, crashing hard into the wall. It turned out to be a first-grade martial artist. In this case, ascending was fundamentally impossible. Damn it, there aren't enough people on the fourth floor. Why won't you let us through? We are all classmates, don't be so unreasonable. Without 140 units of vigor, we aren't qualified to ascend to the fourth floor. What do? This guy's vigor is far superior to ours. At that moment, Fuang Bin struck like lightning, charging up the stairs and blocking a male student who had not reacted in time. With a swift kick, Fuang Bin knocked him unconscious, his face hitting the floor. The other new students looked on in astonishment. This reputation he had snatched was quite impressive. Fuang Bin slowly stood tall, a proud expression on his face as he declared, "I have come to Manhwa. Everyone has said this place is a gathering of geniuses. So I gave up on the Southern Martial Academy with its myriad rewards and chose Manhwa. I never expected the students here would be so weak. Manhwa is fundamentally unworthy of its prestigious title." All the instructors were astonished. This boy was far too arrogant. Hoang Tin erupted in fury. "All new students, listen up. Whoever defeats this arrogant fool will be rewarded with 50 credits. In an instant, all the new students, their eyes gleaming with determination, surged toward Fuang Bin. This was not what I had imagined. Initially, I only wanted to attract the attention of the instructors. How arrogant can one person be? Just moments ago, to capture their gaze, Fuang Bin had openly annihilated Manhwa. As a result, he had drawn a collective attack from all the new students. Li Thuatrak was utterly startled by this. A cunning smile appeared on Fuang Bin's face. "So, what will it be? Will you defeat them or work together?" To his surprise, Li Thuatrak stood firm. "A group attacking one person? How is that something to be proud of? Let the two of us face them all alone, even if we lose." "We won't lose face." Fuang Bin smiled, then spoke loudly. "Defeating me earns you warrior points. But what if I defeat them?" After a moment of silence, Hoang Tin's voice rang out over the loudspeaker. "Defeating a non-warrior grants you 1 point. Defeating a warrior grants you 5 points." Fuang Bin struck Hoang Vien Trong's fist. Indeed, he was quite stingy. However, since it was better than nothing, let the games begin. With a thunderous crash, Fuang Bin sent one of the new students flying, not even bothering to hold back. Suddenly, a punch came flying from the side. Fuang Bin leaned aside to evade it, his right hand swiftly grasping his opponent's arm while his left hand condensed his blood energy, delivering a powerful hook that sent the new student sprawling several meters away. But at this moment, Fuang Bin was also panting heavily. Facing 100-1, the drain on his energy was truly immense. Just then, a figure darted towards Fuang Bin in an instant. Before him, Fuang Bin gasped in shock. The speed was astonishing. It turned out to be Tru Loi, the top freshman, an agile dancer with brittle bones. Fuang Bin took a fierce blow, but he did not fall. Trang Kong, as expected, did not intervene. At that moment, a violet-haired girl suddenly leapt directly toward Fuang Bin's head, aiming to deliver a strike worth 50 points. Unbelievably, this was a perfect opportunity. Just moments ago, Fuang Bin had been hit by an uppercut from Tru Loi. Before he could recover, Duong Tiu Man, a first-grade warrior who had undergone 2 rounds of refinement, leapt above him, wielding 2 swords. At this moment, Fuang Bin's stamina had waned, leaving him unable to react. He quickly focused his energy, consuming 100 points worth of resources to replenish his blood energy just as the sword of Duong Tiu Man came crashing down upon him. Perfect timing, thanks to the system. However, these resources must be conserved. Duong Tiu Man was astonished. How could this person's blood energy restore so quickly? Before he could respond, Fuang Bin delivered a swift kick to his face, sending Duong Tiu Man flying backward in an instant. Did you understand? The students behind were all knocked down, lamenting their plight as they witnessed their beloved Kumat being struck. Tru Tuyat Mai charged toward Fuang Bin, launching a fist at him. Fuang Bin deftly dodged. With a swift counter, Tru Tuyat Mai fell heavily to the ground. Her 4 limbs splayed out. After such a prolonged battle, her energy had waned, and unfortunately, no rewards awaited her. Fuang Bin shouted toward Fu Zong, urging him not to waste his vital energy on a futile struggle against the dancers. Not a dancer. One must count every move. I know, but there are too many people. The vital energy cannot recover. Fu Zong has taken another blow, and his reputation is in tatters. Around Fuang Bin, countless individuals collapsed. Fu Zong was chased out into the open, fleeing from yet another brittle dancer targeting him. Fuang Bin prepared to counterattack, ready to face the onslaught, when suddenly, the atmosphere grew eerily quiet. Tran Van Hai's face flushed crimson in an instant. Fuang Bin quickly withdrew his furious hand as Tran Van Hai delivered a kick. He grabbed a nearby male student, completely unrelated to the fray. Fuang Bin burst into laughter, exclaiming that fists and kicks were blind. At that moment, Tru Loi suddenly shouted, calling for Duong Human. Tru Tuyat Mai led her team in a relentless assault on Fuang Bin. Tran Van Hai and Duong Tung Nham worked together to restrain Fu Zong. Could it be? I just consumed a potion, my energy hasn't recovered yet. Fuang Bin, save me, if you don't act, seek your own fortune. Wait, what? Fu Zong crumpled to the ground, clutching his head. Don't humiliate yourself. A few students from other floors rushed over to join the spectacle. Let's take care of the crowd around us. Fuang Bin exhaled heavily, relieved. Such abundant wealth and value had suddenly appeared. He raised his head to see students joining the lively scene, their faces lit with mischievous grins. Even approaching him, he slowly moved toward them, warning them not to come any closer. We're not from the 4th floor. We can't dictate who can come from other floors. The new students finally emerged from the training building, all looking utterly defeated. Fuang Bin also hoisted Fu Zong out with him. Quite a sight. Indeed, this is just too tragic. Fu Zong suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs. Heavenly choice. Though we may be defeated, we hold our honor. Enough. You've been beaten to a pulp. Why not keep quiet for a moment? Fu Zong refused to accept defeat. You really aren't injured? Fuang Bin feigned indifference, declaring, because I am strong, even a child king is still just a child. A voice, laced with terror, suddenly resonated from behind, sending chills down the spines of Fuang Bin and the others. It turned out to be Director Hoang, the head of the Weaponry Academy, a female professor introducing the next phase to Officer Hoang. As Officer Hoang approached, the new students quickly parted to create a path. Was this the imposition of a master's gaze? Indeed, it was terrifying. However, one day I will surpass him. At that moment, the voice of Director Hoang echoed through the radio, instructing the new students to gather in the gymnasium for their respective mentor selections. Fuang Bin remarked that perhaps the director felt embarrassed. As the two conversed, just as they were talking, a red-haired instructor strode over. The academic division at the academy distributed responsibilities, and it was clear that this matter of sesame seeds and green beans was trivial enough that it didn't require the director's attention. Fu Shuangding swiftly pressed down on the large head of the podium, declaring loudly, Instructor, we were wrong. Fuang Bin was left bewildered. Fu Shuangding explained that this man was at the peak of the 6th rank, known as the greatest madman under Director Duong Fong. Offending him was not a trivial matter. This time, the academy's performance was commendable, and Fuang Bin believed that Duong Fong was praising her, causing her to lift her head in delight. But a second later, her eyes widened in shock. She had misjudged the praise. Duong Fong joyfully stated that, despite being besieged by numerous students, he fought without retreat. Truly, he embodied a portion of Fuang Bin's demeanor. With a head full of darkness, he certainly was not one to back down. Essentially, it seemed he could not retreat at all. Was this instructor blind to praise the wrong person? After Fu Shuangding's compliment, Duong Fong turned to Fuang Bin with a disdainful expression, saying, I detest overly cunning students. Fuang Bin struggled to suppress the anger within her. Ignoring Fuang Bin, Duong Tang finished speaking and turned away, stating that when selecting instructors, Fu Shuangding could directly go to his side. Fu Shuangding quickly consoled Fuang Bin, advising her not to be angry and explaining that Duong Fong was notorious for his underhanded tactics. Through gritted teeth, Fuang Bin vowed, I will make that Duong Shizi regret it. The young man had traveled back in time 10 years, successfully activating a cheat, becoming someone everyone desired. Even the fierce female instructors coveted him. The division session for new students concluded, and it was time for the instructor selection phase. All the new students gathered in the stadium, in front of each instructor's desk. The admission requirements were clearly stated, no gender restrictions. Only 5 students who had completed the second stage of the foundational training and above. Vitality must reach 180 points or more, with balanced offensive and defensive skills. Only female students are accepted, with a preference for those who possess a sense of safety. Fuang Bin glanced around, pondering who to choose. Each instructor had a unique area of expertise, Selecting the one who matched her best was of utmost importance. Though many instructors insisted that applicants must be martial artists. But under the condition that Fuang Bin has passed my 3 tests. No one would dare refuse him. Fu Zong Din, have you decided which instructor to choose? At this moment, Fu Zong Din was in a state of extreme indecision. Yes, take your time to think. I'll head out first. The elegant and refined instructor. Bok Nhuoc High. Truly quite popular, isn't it? Right now, Fuang Bin was gazing off into the distance. Vo Dick, with such a striking appearance and a name that truly fits, indeed embodies the overwhelming power. Furthermore, the admission requirements were straightforward, private design. Wasn't this all a manifestation from the recent branch meeting? The best of the best. Huh? Fuang Bin felt somewhat helpless, indeed. A formidable elder sister with character. Just as Fuang Bin was about to leave, Vo Dick suddenly opened his eyes, which had been shut tight. Fuang Bin, come with me. I assure you will be safe within the school. Oh, quite the bold claim, isn't it? But could it really be dangerous within the school? Do you know Wang Jinyang? That big brother is undefeated among his peers. Surely no one is unaware of him. Vo Dick smiled faintly and continued. Last year, he came to Ma Vu and injured quite a few students from Dongtae. Considering your relationship with Wang Jinyang, do you think you can comfortably navigate university life? You wouldn't want to face seniors who despise Wang Jinyang as if he were their enemy every day. Right? Before Vo Dick could finish, Tang Tang stepped forward. Clapping his hands on the table, he said, the students of Ma Vu are not so petty. Vo Dick stared sharply at Tang Tang. If they were only fellow townsmen, that would be one thing. But Wang Jinyang is Fuang Bin's master. Can you guarantee that your students won't bear a grudge? The counter-question left Tang Tang at a loss for words. Vo Dick stood up and continued. In the realm of martial arts, to contend is to risk defeat. Wang Jinyang is undefeated. They will not let you off the hook. My master, however, has guidance from the Grand Masters. From Nansha to the northern regions. In the blink of an eye, Fuang Bin felt a jolt. No wonder this elder sister is